Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. We are gathered here today for this first hour to hear Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, the ripened fruit of the tree of knowledge known as Vedas. And the section that we're going to hear is given to us by Sri Narada Muni. Narada Muni Bhajaya Bina Radhika Ramana Name. This particular section that Kamlesh has selected is entitled What Prahlāda Learned in the Womb. This is from the 7th canto. The 7th canto is a conversation between Narada Muni and Maharaj Yudhishthira on the occasion of the Rajasuya sacrifice. At that Rajasuya sacrifice, Shishupal was killed by Krishna. Krishna used his Sudarshan Chakra, and Shishupal's spirit soul entered the body of Krishna. And then from there, Shishupal regained his original form in Vaikuntha as one of the gatekeepers, the 7th gate in Vaikuntha. He had been cursed to take birth 3 times. After Krishna killed Shishupal, that was the 3rd birth. Everyone saw how the spirit soul of Shishupal entered the body of Krishna like a meteor, like a shooting star. So Yudhishthira was sitting near Narada and he asked him, "What is this? Can you explain?" So Narada began to explain how Shishupal had taken birth twice before as the enemy of the Lord. He had appeared as Ravan, and he was killed by Lord Ram, whose holy appearance day is in 1 week. And then prior to that, he was known as Hiranyakashipu, and he was killed by Lord Nrsimhadev. And then Narada Muni, at the request of Yudhishthira, spoke about that first demon birth as Hiranyakashipu. In the course of narrating that history, it was mentioned that Hiranyakashipu's son, Prahlāda, when he was 5 years old, was sent to a demon school where he was carefully trained how to become a top-notch materialist. His father took much care that his son should grow up to be a first-class demon like his father. And at one point, Hiranyakashipu wanted to see how much Prahlāda was progressing in his demoniac studies. So we asked Prahlāda, "What have you learned? What nice thing have you learned?" And the young boy addressed his father, "O best of the demons," and explained to him that he was simply wasting his life. And Hiranyakashipu did not like what the young boy was repeating. So he chastised the teachers, Shanda and Amarka. who were sons of Hiranyakashipu's priest, Shukracharya. So he told them, you take my boy and instruct him very carefully. I don't like this nonsense that he is speaking, this Krishna consciousness. So the teachers chastised Prahlāda. And they said, Prahlāda, none of the other boys are talking like you. But Prahlāda did not care for the instructions of his teachers. And when the teachers would go to eat lunch, Prahlāda would gather his classmates and he would say, come, I have something very nice to teach you. And the young boys, they were at this age, 5-year-olds, they're innocent. They're not hardcore demons yet. They're innocent. So they gathered around Prahlāda. And Prahlāda told them about God consciousness, Krishna consciousness, the spiritual life. And the young boys questioned Prahlāda that you're like one of us, 5-year-old. All you know is this palace life. Where you have learned all this that you are teaching us. So Prahlāda began to tell the history. So Narada Muni is telling all this to Yudhishthira. And so this chapter opens, and Prahlāda is telling his classmates that when I was in the womb of my mother, Kayadu, my father went off to perform severe penances and austerities. And while he was off, the demigods headed by Indra seized my mother, captured her. And they were going to take her away. And they were going to wait till she gave birth. And then they were going to kill me. Because the demigods were thinking, Hiranyakashipu is the greatest of the demons. Certainly the child in this woman's womb must also be a demon. As we say in America, like father, like son. And as the demigods headed by Indra were taking Prahlāda's mother and she was crying, Narada Muni appeared. And he told the demigod, stop. What are you doing? And the demigods explained. Narada said, no. You cannot harm the child in this woman's womb. You don't know. He is actually a great devotee of the Lord. And those of you who know Bhagavad-Gītā, actually, all of you should know Bhagavad-Gītā, right, Kamlesh? Especially what verse? Sarvadharman parityaja mamekam sharanam vraja ahang tvang sarvapapebhyo mokshaya shimasucha. We have all learned that verse because of Kamlesh. If we learned one verse, our life is successful. So in the Bhagavad-Gītā, Krishna explains, Kaunteya pratijanahi nambe bhakta pranasyati. He tells Arjuna, declare it boldly, my devotee can never be vanquished. So Narada was explaining to the demigods that even if they tried to, they would not be able to harm the boy in the womb of the woman because he was a great devotee. And Krishna protects his devotees. Now the demigods are intelligent and they have enough wherewithal to respect a senior spiritual personality such as Narada. Nowadays, perhaps you've had this experience. If you try to give somebody good instruction, what do? They tell you, go away. I'm okay, you're okay. And that's your religion. I have my own religion. It's called sense gratification. I come in the sampradaya of Hiranyakashipu. Eat, drink, and be merry, for tomorrow we die. That is very current. You try to give someone good instruction, they become antagonistic. This is Kali Yuga. Nobody wants to hear anything. I know everything already. Go away. Let me watch television. But the demigods are not like that. Especially an authority like Narada Muni, they immediately respected. They released Prahlāda's mother and went back to their heavenly kingdom. Now Prahlāda's mother, Kayadu, she was only concerned for the welfare of the child, and she wanted to deliver the child when her husband had returned from his austerities. Narada Muni said, yes, I will give you protection. You stay in my ashram. And Srila Prabhupada, our spiritual master, explains this point because that's a unusual. Narada Muni is brahmachari. Technically, he's not supposed to associate with any woman. But Narada is in a transcendental position. Ordinarily, he should not have done this, but Narada Muni is transcendental, so he was in a position to give shelter to Prahlāda's mother, and there's no problem. And Prabhupada also compares this to Haridas Thakur, when the prostitute who was sent by Ramachandra Khan came 3 nights to tempt Haridas Thakur, and she exposed some of her body. Haridas Thakur should have left, but he decided, no, I will deliver her. So for 3 nights the prostitute came, and Haridas tricked her, saying, yes, I will enjoy with you, but first I must finish my chanting. I have taken a vow. I have to complete so much chanting. So stay. As soon as I'm finished chanting, we can enjoy. But Haridas Thakur's chanting went on throughout the night. And the girl, the prostitute, tired. He said, I'm so sorry. Surely tomorrow I will finish. Come back tomorrow. So she came back again. This time she offered obeisances to the Tulsi, because Haridas Thakur used to chant in front of the Tulsi plant. And Prabhupada mentions this is ideal chanting. To chant in front of Tulsi plant is ideal chanting. So the second night also, Haridas Thakur said, I have not been able to finish my chanting. Come back tomorrow, I will finish. She came the 3rd night, and after some time she fell down at Haridas Thakur's feet, and she confessed, yes, I have come here to pollute you, but after hearing your chanting for 3 nights, my heart has changed. I want you to deliver me. I have committed volumes and volumes of sinful activities in this profession of prostitution. Kindly act as my spiritual master and deliver me. So Haridas Thakur said, yes, I know everything about that foolish Ramachandra Khan. I would have left right away, but I wanted to deliver you. So she followed Haridas Thakur's instruction, shaved her head, stayed in that Haridas Thakur's place. Haridas Thakur left. She stayed there and did exactly as Haridas Thakur chanted all day, eat a little, 1 grain for every round she was eating. That's the new fast. They have all these new fasting fads. This diet, this is the Haridas Thakur diet. For every round, you can eat 1 grain. Put that on the internet. The Haridas Thakur diet. So the point being, people like Narada Muni, Haridas Thakur, they're in the transcendental position. So while Kayadu was staying in Narada Muni's ashram, Narada was preaching to both her, and because the child in the womb was hearing the instructions of Narada, he was also benefiting. And Prahlāda tells his classmates, my mother's main concern was delivering me, so she was not very attentive to what Narada Muni was saying. But me in the womb, I was hearing everything. So when Prahlāda came out, he was fully self-realized, because if you hear from a self-realized spiritual master, you are supposed to know everything. You're supposed to have full knowledge. So Prahlāda Maharaj said to his classmates, because I was blessed by my spiritual master, I am in the position that I am. Then the boys wanted to know exactly, so what were those things that Narada taught you while you were in the womb of your mother? So we pick up there. Everybody chant the Maha Mantra 3 times. So this is what Prahlāda told his classmates. My dear friends, if you can place your faith in my words, simply by that faith, you can also understand transcendental knowledge just like me, although you are small children. So this, what Prahlāda says here, is the beginning. Faith, Shraddha. This is the beginning of making spiritual advancement. For myself personally, if I have made any spiritual advancement, it is only because I have some faith in my spiritual master, Srila Prabhupada. Why is it that I accept and believe that Krishna is God? Nothing other than I have faith in Srila Prabhupada. When that lady told me to reject Prabhupada and just accept Krishna, I said no. That is not possible. The only way I know about Krishna is because of Srila Prabhupada. And then some years ago, different people were telling me, oh, you should follow this person. I said no. I gave my heart and soul to Srila Prabhupada in 1973. I'm not going to take it back now to follow somebody else. No. I gave my heart and soul to Srila Prabhupada. That's it. In this life, it's Prabhupada, Lord Chaitanya, and Krishna. We'll see at the end if I was right. So far, I'll make that same decision 1,000 times. I have no regrets. So this, what Prahlāda is saying, is also confirmed in the Shvetashvatara Upanishad. Yasya deve para bhakti yata deve tatagura tasyaite katahita hi arta prakashante mahatmanaha. One who has implicit faith in God and the spiritual master, implicit, to that person, the understanding, the import of the Vedic knowledge is revealed to that person. You have to have implicit faith in God and Guru. Let us continue. Prahlāda is preaching. Just as the fruits and flowers of a tree in due course of time undergo 6 changes: birth, existence, growth, transformation, dwindling, and then death, so too this material body, which is obtained by the spirit soul under different circumstances, undergoes similar changes. However, there are no such changes for the spirit soul. So what Prahlāda is teaching the children, what Prahlāda heard from Narada, is very familiar to what somebody says somewhere else. 2nd chapter, Bhagavad-Gītā. And as I've been preaching lately, I preach very strongly on this point in Santiago. Bhagavad-Gītā is the basis of all preaching. They want to read all these other books. This. First, learn Bhagavad-Gītā. You must first have a foundation. If you build a house, you may have so much nice, but if the foundation is weak, it falls down. And if you read Prabhupada's books, what book is he quoting the most? Bhagavad-Gītā, because it's the foundation. Build your spiritual life on a solid foundation. Narada instructed Prahlāda. Now Prahlāda is repeating what his guru told him. Same thing we learn in Bhagavad-Gītā. The difference between the body and the soul. Prahlāda continues. Atma refers to the Supreme Lord or the living entities. Both of them are spiritual, free from birth and death, free from deterioration, and free from material contamination. They are individuals, they are the knowers of the external body, and they are the foundation or shelter of everything. They are free from material change, they are self-illuminated, they are the cause of all causes, and they are all-pervading. They have nothing to do with the material body, and therefore they are always uncovered. With these transcendental qualities, one who is actually learned must give up the illusory conception of life in which one thinks, I am this material body and everything in relationship with this body is mine. Yes, this is also taught in Prabhupada's teachings over and over and over and over again. Prahlāda continues, an expert geologist can understand where there is gold and by various processes can extract it. Similarly, a spiritually advanced person can understand how the spiritual particle exists within the body, and thus by cultivating spiritual knowledge can attain perfection in spiritual life. However, as one who is not expert cannot understand where there is gold, a foolish person who has not cultivated spiritual knowledge cannot understand how the spirit exists within the body. Later on, in the 8th canto, where Vamana is talking to Bali in the beginning, Vamana says to Bali that, oh yes, I know about your ancestors. Vamana was, what we say, puffing up Bali. So he was glorifying Bali's ancestors. He said, oh, your great ancestor, Hiranyakashipu, he was searching everywhere for Lord Vishnu. And Vamana says, Lord Vishnu was afraid. And Lord Vishnu was thinking, wherever I go, this Hiranyakashipu will be chasing me. Where can I go where he won't find me? And Lord Vishnu said, aha, If I enter his heart, he'll never look for me there. So when Hiranyakashipu inhaled, Lord Vishnu entered and hid himself in the heart of Hiranyakashipu. Because a demon never looks for God inside. Because he's a demon. So yes, unless you have transcendental knowledge, how can you progress? Prahlāda continues. The Lord's 8 separated material energies. So what are they? Earth, water, fire, air, ether, mind, intelligence, false ego. If you had just said ego, that's not material, but false ego. Okay, we have the 8 separated material. The 3 modes of nature. And ignorance. Very good. And the 16 transformations, the 11 senses and the 5 gross material elements. Within all these, the one spiritual soul exists as the observer. Therefore, all the great acharyas have concluded that the individual soul is conditioned by these material elements. There are 2 kinds of bodies for every individual soul. A gross body made of 5 gross elements and a subtle body made of 3 subtle elements. Within these bodies, however, is the spirit soul. One must find the soul by analysis, saying, this is not it, this is not it. Thus one must separate spirit from matter. Sober and expert persons should search for the spirit soul with minds purified through analytical study in terms of the soul's connection with and distinction from all things that undergo creation, maintenance, and destruction. Because the soul does not go through those changes. So anything that goes through creation, maintenance, and destruction is material. The soul is ever existing. Intelligence can be perceived in 3 states of activity: wakefulness, dreaming, and deep sleep. The person who perceives these 3 is to be considered the original master, the ruler, the supreme personality of Godhead. As one can understand the presence of air by the aroma it carries, so under the guidance of the supreme personality of Godhead, one can understand the living soul by these 3 divisions of intelligence. But these 3 divisions, however, are not the soul. They are constituted of the 3 modes and are born of activities. Yes, whatever thinking and willing activities you do throughout the day will determine what you will be thinking about when you sleep at night. So if your whole day is spent in Krishna conscious activities, then at night you should be thinking of these activities. I've had the experience. Sometimes I'm sleeping and I'm doing a program. Sometimes I'm sleeping and I'm honoring prasad. But whatever you are thinking, feeling, and willing throughout the day is naturally going to come about when you sleep at night. So therefore, as much as possible, we should be engaged in Krishna conscious activities, Krishna karma, working for Krishna. Through polluted intelligence, one is subjected to the modes of nature, and thus one is conditioned by material existence. Like a dreaming state in which one falsely suffers material existence, which is due to ignorance, must be considered unwanted and temporary. Yes, I have told you before, I have put together a whole file of all the verses in the Bhagavatam where it is explained that material existence is a dream. So this is a very, very important item for me. Some years ago there was this movie, Inception, and I liked the premise because the movie was about a dream within a dream within a dream. They must have read something of Bhagavatam, because that is what material existence is. It's a dream. Otherwise, why is that song by Bhaktivinoda Thakur, Jeev Jago? Wake up, sleeping souls. Wake up. I'm awake. No, you're still asleep, because you are ignorant of your true identity as eternal servant of Krishna. This Krishna consciousness movement, the practice of Krishna consciousness, is waking you up, and one day, little by little, your true identity, your real identity will be revealed. So this is only one of many reasons why we chant this Hare Krishna Maha Mantra. We're trying to wake up from the dream of material existence. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare. This is one of a billion reasons why we chant. It is to, like Lord Chaitanya says, Cheto Darpana Marjanam. Cleanse the mirror of the mind. Wake up from the dream. Jeev Jago. And call out the names of Krishna. Therefore, my dear friends, O sons of the demons, your duty is to take to Krishna consciousness, which can burn the seed of fruitive activities artificially created by the modes of material nature, and stop the flow of the intelligence in wakefulness, dreaming, and deep sleep. In other words, when one takes to Krishna consciousness, ignorance is immediately dissipated. Yes, Krishna Surya Sama, and Maya is darkness. Darkness simply means the absence of light. But as soon as the light is there, as soon as the sun is there, darkness is gone. Material existence, Maya, is darkness, ignorance. But Krishna is like the sun. So as soon as you bring Krishna, then you are Tamasima Jyotirgama, coming out of the darkness and getting into the light. When it's dark, when it's very, very dark, there's so much fear of the unknown. When the gopis came to see Krishna the night of the Rasa dance, Krishna told the gopis, "What are you doing here? This is the dead of night, and there are wild animals. Who will protect you? You should return home." Yes. Darkness, especially if you go deep into the forest, you hear those weird sounds. And it's dark. And but as soon as the early morning rays of the sun come, no more fear of the hobgoblins and ghosts, because the light is there. So there's a nice statement in the 6th canto. Iva Bhaskara. Material existence is like a fog, dense fog. There's a place in California, and they have this thing, Tulare fog. Very, very dense fog. I once had to drive in that. I had a huge accident. I was going to pick up cookies from LA Temple to bring back. We were going to sell the cookies on Sankirtan. But the fog was so thick, you could not see this much ahead of you. And there was some guy, he was parked, or he was stopped on the freeway. It looked like he was backing up. So I couldn't get out in time, because by the time I saw him, I was right there. So my van hit his car, and then another car came, boom, boom, boom. 10 cars. That fog was so thick. But then, when the sun came out, so that verse in the Bhagavatam says that as soon as Krishna consciousness, the light of the holy name, Krishna consciousness, just a little bit is enough to liberate you. Just a little bit of Krishna consciousness can liberate you. Just a little bit. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama. One more time. Now Prahlāda goes to the next level. Prahlāda is teaching his classmates. They asked him, so since they asked, he's telling them. I am also like that. My policy is don't ask, don't tell. But if you ask, I'm going to tell. You open the door? Okay. Prahlāda said, of the different processes recommended for disentanglement from material life, the one personally explained and accepted by the Supreme Personality of Godhead should be considered all perfect. That process is the performance of duties by which love for the Supreme Lord develops. Here is such a nice statement by Prahlāda. So there are different processes for liberation. But Prahlāda says, but the one personally explained and accepted by God himself. So, Kamlesh, what book would that be? Bhagavad-Gītā. It's spoken by God. So that's why Prabhupada said, this is the best book. We don't have time to read all the Vedic literatures, therefore Prabhupada said, then just read one book. Bhagavad-Gītā. And if you can't read the whole, what verse? One verse. Sarvadaman parityajya mamekam sharanam vraja ahang dvang sarva papevyo moksha yashami. Just need one verse. I read last year that Gita Mahatmya, and it says even at the time of death, you remember a quarter of a verse. Even a quarter of the verse, you can be delivered. Hari Bol is right. But you should at least do the whole verse. Everybody should know Sarvadaman. Because I know what's going to happen at the time of death. If we can't remember Sarvadaman, someone's going to say, what? You've been chanting it all this time and you can't remember? Yes. One must accept the bona fide spiritual master and render service unto him with great devotion and faith. Whatever one has in one's possession should be offered to the spiritual master. And in the association of saintly persons and devotees, one should worship the Lord, hear the glories of the Lord with faith, glorify the transcendental qualities and activities of the Lord, always meditate on the Lord's lotus feet, and worship the deity of the Lord strictly according to the injunctions of the Shastra and Guru. One should always remember the Supreme Personality of Godhead in his localized representation as Paramatma, who is situated in the core of every living entity's heart. Thus, one should offer respect to every living entity according to that living entity's position or manifestation. Same thing reminds me of what Lord Shiva told Sati, that he is not offering respects to the person who identifies with the body. He's offering respects to Krishna in the heart of that body. Remember, that's who we're offering obeisances to. By these activities, one is able to cut down the influences of the 6 enemies. ISIS? No. Here are the 6 enemies. Lust. Wait. Anger. There you go. Illusion. Madness. Jealousy. So these are the enemies. This is also what Prahlāda told his father. Because in the school, they were trying to teach him about who are your friends and who are your enemies. And Prahlāda said, this is all nonsense. Here are the real enemies. Like Hiranyakashipu thought Lord Vishnu was his enemy. That's why he was seeking revenge. Because Vishnu had killed his brother Hiranyaksha. So Hiranyakashipu had so much, he wanted to revenge. He promised that he would find Lord Vishnu and kill him to avenge the death of his brother. But he could not find, because Lord Vishnu had hidden himself until Prahlāda made him appear. When Hiranyakashipu said, "Where is your God?" And Prahlāda said, "My God is..." And Hiranyakashipu said, "Prahlāda, this is nonsense." "Okay, is he in this pillar?" "Yes." And to keep the words of Prahlāda intact, Lord Nrsimha appeared. Now he'll have his chance to kill God. But who won? Lord Prahlāda, well, he didn't fight. Lord Nrsimha won. Lord Nrsimha. Prahlāda just was there. Hiranyakashipu was fighting Lord Nrsimha. When thus situated, one can render service to the Lord. In this way, one surely attains the platform of loving service to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. One who is situated in devotional service is certainly the controller of the senses, and thus is a liberated person. When such a liberated person, the pure devotee, hears of the transcendental qualities and activities of the Lord's incarnations for the performance of various pastimes, one's hair stands on end, tears fall from the eyes, and in one's spiritual realization, one's voice falters. Sometimes one very openly dances, sometimes one sings loudly, and sometimes one cries. Thus one expresses transcendental jubilation. You will see verses like this several times throughout Bhagavatam, because this is the symptom of the Mahabhagavat, that as soon as the pure devotee is in contact with the Lord, then these manifestations of ecstasy are there. And Lord Chaitanya's Guru Ishwara Puri quoted a similar verse from the 11th Canto and told him this is the essence of the Bhagavatam. That by hearing, chanting, one exhibits these transcendental ecstatic emotions. When a devotee becomes like a person haunted by a ghost, he or she laughs and very loudly chants about the qualities of the Lord. Sometimes one sits to perform meditations and offers respects to every living entity, considering one to be a devotee of the Lord. Constantly breathing very heavily, one becomes careless of social etiquette and loudly chants like a madman, "Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare." The devotee is then freed from all material contamination because one constantly thinks of the Lord's pastimes, and because one's mind and body have been converted to spiritual qualities. Because of intense devotional service, one's ignorance, material consciousness, and all kinds of material desires are completely burnt to ashes. This is the stage at which one can achieve shelter of the Lord's lotus feet. Today I got a glimpse of this. I spent the morning and good part of the day just trying to become absorbed in chanting and reading and hearing Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam. And after several hours, I could notice, just like it says, all kinds of material desires are completely burnt to ashes. So Lord Chaitanya emphasizes hearing and chanting. How much? As much as possible. You cannot, it is impossible to do too much hearing and chanting. It's not possible. If you do too much hearing and chanting, what happens? Haribol! Just like it's not possible to be too humble. Oh, Prabhu, I'm humble. No. You can be more humble. Yes. So you cannot overdose on hearing and chanting. You can eat too many samosas. Yes. But you cannot eat too much. Like that opening verse of the Bhagavatam, Pibata. Bhagavatam is drunk through the ears. So drink as much Bhagavatam as you can. Drink it. Don't worry. The ear is an amazing sense. The ear can hear vibration after vibration after vibration, never gets full. Goes on hearing. So we should try to hear spiritual subject matter, the holy name, Bhagavatam, as much as possible every day. As much. Everybody chant the Maha Mantra one time. One more time, please. Part 4. So let's see who's paying attention. Who is telling the story? But who's telling the story of Prahlāda? Narada too? Very good. And the story within the story is who speaking to who? Very good. Excellent. Yeah, that means I've done my job. Yes. Yes. Because it's important. The teacher has to make sure that the student actually is learning something. Not that I just sit here for 8 hours, blah, 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 blah. What did he say? I don't know. There should be some comprehension. Then I am an effective teacher. Good. Thank you. Prahlāda continued, the real problem of life is what? Who can answer Prahlāda's question? What is the real problem of life? Obamacare? What is the real problem of life? Yes, the repetition of birth and death. Prahlāda says that is the real. And according to Krishna in Bhagavad-Gītā, what are the 4 problems of life? Birth, death, old age, and disease. Yes. Anybody argue with Krishna on that point? Not successfully. Exactly. And especially those last 2, old age and disease. How do you like old age, huh? It's a lot of fun, isn't it? And how do you like getting disease? No, we don't like it. We'll spend millions of dollars to avoid. And in Hollywood also, that old age, they'll do anything, put snake venom and they'll put different things to get rid of that old age, but can't do it. Time just takes away. Samsara is like a wheel rolling repeatedly up and down. This wheel, however, completely stops when one is in touch with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. In other words, by the transcendental bliss realized from constant engagement in devotional service, one is completely liberated from material existence. We studied this last week at Kundan Loka. Mang cheovi abhicharena bhakti yogena sevate sagunan samatit yaitan brahma bhuyaya kalpate. Arjuna's question was, how do I transcend these modes of nature? And Krishna's answer was, you have to perform devotional service without any stop, nirantara, without any cessation. Prahlāda is repeating the same thing. There's no contradiction between Bhagavad-Gītā and Bhagavatam or Chaitanya Charitamrita. No contradiction. Same message. It's just being explained from yet a different angle of vision. All learned men know this. Therefore, my dear friends, O sons of the Asuras, immediately begin meditating upon and worshiping the Supersoul within everyone's heart. O sons of the Asuras, the Supreme Personality of Godhead in His Supersoul feature always exists within the cores of the hearts of all living entities. Indeed, He is the well-wisher and friend of all living entities. What verse in Bhagavad-Gītā does that remind you of? Suridam Sarvabhutanam, chapter 5. Learn your Bhagavad-Gītā, then you can preach most effectively. And there is no difficulty in worshiping the Lord. Hereon, how should we worship the Lord in this age of Kali? Chanting His holy name. Excellent. And is there any restriction? Do I have to worry about whether I'm clean or unclean? Do I have to worry about time, place, or circumstance? Anywhere? Anytime? Any circumstance? Yes, you have passed the examination. Excellent. Anytime, any place, anywhere. Why then should people not engage in this devotional service? I'm going to tell you a nice story in this regard. So many years ago, I was with my godbrother, Brigupati. We were at a concert in Columbia University, New York. So we were distributing Krishna book to the people attending the concert. So we weren't doing very good. So Brigupati got this idea. I'm going to distribute this book to the person who's doing the concert. I said, no, don't do that. But he was fearless. He walked right up in the middle of the concert, stopped the concert, and handed the guy a Krishna book. And he took the Krishna book. Then he handed it to his guitar player. And the guitar player started to read Krishna book to the audience. And then Brigupati asked the guy for a donation, and he gave a donation. That's called faith. That's Brigupati Das. I couldn't believe what I was seeing. It was like, yes. He definitely read like a couple of sentences from Krishna book right there to the whole audience. And the guy gave a donation. That was the best part. Gave him a few dollars. Why then should people not engage in this devotional service? Why are they so addicted to unnecessarily producing artificial paraphernalia for sense gratification? One's riches, beautiful wife and female friends, one's sons and daughters, one's residence, one's domestic animals like cows, elephants, and horses, one's treasury, economic development, and sense gratification. Indeed, even the lifetime in which one can enjoy all these material opulences are certainly temporary and flickering. Since the opportunity of human life is temporary, what benefit can these material opulences give to a sensible man who has understood himself to be eternal? It is learned from the Vedic literature that by performing great sacrifices, one may go where? Where do you go by performing great sacrifices? Heavenly planets. However, although life on the heavenly planets is hundreds and thousands of times more comfortable than life on earth, the heavenly planets are not pure or free from the taint of material existence. The heavenly planets are also temporary, and therefore they are not the goal of life. On the other hand, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, however, has never been seen or heard to possess inebriety. Consequently, for your own benefit and self-realization, you must worship the Lord with great devotion as described in the revealed scriptures. A materialistic person, thinking him or herself very advanced in intelligence, continually acts for economic development, but again and again, as enunciated in the Vedas, one is frustrated by material activities, either in this life or the next. Indeed, the results one obtains are inevitably the opposite of those one desires. In the material world, every materialist desires to achieve happiness and diminish distress, and therefore acts accordingly. Actually, however, one is happy as long as one does not endeavor for happiness. For as soon as one begins activities for happiness, conditions of distress begin. Prahlāda's statement here is very, very, you might even say controversial. Who is going to believe this? If I was to go on Fox Noise Channel and repeat this, they would go berserk. They would say that I'm crazy. But Prahlāda Maharaj, he is Mahajan. He's the best example of a devotee. He is giving us revolutionary idea. As long as one endeavors for material happiness, what's going to happen? You're going to begin your conditions of distress. Therefore, the conclusion of the Bhagavatam is don't try to improve your material situation. And Prabhupada tells us early in Bhagavatam, material well-being automatically follows spiritual being, not vice versa. Many people think, oh, let me get my material act together and then I'll get my spiritual life. Doesn't work that way. That's why Prabhupada says material well-being automatically follows spiritual well-being. But that requires an awful lot of faith. That let me prioritize my spiritual life and automatically everything material will fall into place. But that is exactly, Prahlāda is hinting at that. Don't strive for material happiness. Strive for Krishna consciousness. Make that the priority. A living entity desires comfort and makes plans for this purpose, but actually the body is the property of others. Indeed, the perishable body embraces the living entity and then leaves one aside. Since the body itself is ultimately meant to become stool or earth or ashes, what is the meaning of the paraphernalia related to the body, such as wives, residence, wealth, children, relatives, servants, friends, kingdoms, treasuries, animals, and ministers? They are also temporary. What more can be said about this? All this paraphernalia is very near and dear as long as the body exists. But as soon as the body is destroyed, all things related to the body are also finished. Therefore, actually, one has nothing to do with them. But because of ignorance, one accepts them as valuable. Compared to the ocean of eternal happiness, they are most insignificant. What is the use of such insignificant relationships for the eternal living being? This is a further explanation of this concept that material existence is a dream. When you have a dream, while you're having the dream, it's so real. But when you wake up, it was just a dream. That day is coming. You've been hearing me say this for years now. That day is coming to a theater near you, in 3D, in Dolby surround sound. Every one of us will experience this material existence is a dream. When I was a young boy, there was this song. Merrily, 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 life is but a dream. Now, because of Bhagavatam and Prabhupada, now I can give the purport. It's a dream. The reality, it's right there at the beginning of the 15th chapter of Bhagavad-Gītā. I'm not making this up. It's right there, the opening section of chapter 15 of Bhagavad-Gītā. Where is the reality? Spiritual world. We're on the reflection. The reflection is not real. Right? Here's the reflection of the camera. This is the camera, not this, right? This is a reflection of the camera. This is not taking a picture. This is. So in the same way, this, well, not here because we're doing Krishna consciousness, but out there, Irvine is a dream. Here is reality because we are hearing and chanting about who? My dear friends, the living entity receives different types of bodies according to previous fruitive activities. Thus, one is seen to suffer with reference to the particular body in all conditions of life, beginning with infusion into the womb. Please tell me, therefore, after full consideration, what is the living entity's actual interest in fruitive activities which result in hardship and misery? I went over time. I'm sorry. No, we have to respect the law of this temple. So there's only a few more statements, but I went over time, and that's a sin. Everybody chant the Maha Mantra.